Hello, Boring Brew, and today I'm going to go over a couple of tips and tricks that may help you in your experiences in the front and helping you get a little bit farther. Um, so, number one on our list, use your space. So, your bases don't really have to be in a super big footprint. One thing that helped me level up early in the game was having everything all in a compact floor space. So one, you can bring in a huge bulk of resources and process them very easy just by spinning around and accessing everything. Two, you are able to walk on these little half storage boxes in a one tall area. So decent to have them covering the floor space. Another thing is these bonfires. There's something to be said about that. They can burn 5 stacks of wood. The refining forges, the basic ones, only have room for 3 stacks of wood, and these take up a lot of space. So if you're trying to get a little bit further on the charcoal, myself, I have these down everywhere, and I do have a decent amount of forges down. Because one of the big things is later in the game, you're going to get a lot of resources, and the blast furnace doesn't really seem to smelt any faster. It just has a lot more inventory space and doesn't require wood as a fuel. So that's a good thing and a bad thing. The wood as a fuel byproduct gives you the charcoal that you need to make the steel ingots. But anyhoozle, yeah, you can definitely maximize your space by wherever there's like a little awkward corner, throw a bonfire down. Now you're processing more wood into charcoal. Another thing is the floor spikes, they don't hurt you. You can walk over them. They won't hurt you. They won't hurt your teammates. So, if you're on the PvP servers, um, it's not really a terrible idea to have a whole bunch of floor spikes all throughout your base. Or one of the things I like doing as well is putting claymores around all the corners. If there's not a fireplace or storage box, then usually there's a claymore or some of these wooden spikes. So that's tip number one, user space. Tip number two, turrets and your base defense strategies. You really need to kind of take into consideration that if you have a big wall and all your turrets are behind your wall, they're not going to be able to fire through your wall. So make sure your turrets have a clean line of sight, right? Myself personally, I do recommend having turrets on the outside of your compound wall. It's kind of the bigger area. Wow, that's loud. The bigger area you have of turret coverage is the larger area that they're gonna have problems. Like you're giving yourself a little bit more space to work around, and also, like I said, your barriers. If you look at them and kind of look into the ground a bit, you can get them to place low like this. This works out really well because that tank gun's still going to be able to shoot down here. If a tank pulls up, they're not going to be able to use my own walls as a blind. A lot of the times in base raiding, one of the biggest downfalls when people go to place turrets is they create blind spots for themselves. So always make sure your turrets have a line of sight, and you should be okay. Corresponding with the turrets, a big thing I would recommend as well, do not link these turrets off of each other. This is just for a trap hallway, so it's kind of done like that. But wherever you go to place a turret, put the power junction somewhere inside your base, behind a couple of walls, discreetly. Run the power out nice and clean, and run each line out for each independent turret. What that's going to do is, if this turret gets blown up and it's carrying the power, that means that turret's not going to go out, right? So you run the lines independently outside and keep the junctions on the inside of your walls, chances are it's going to be a lot harder to take your turrets down. Corresponding to that, if you do build your turrets outside of your walls and put them on like a little 1x1 box, maybe put a titanium battery in there and have the power line run into that, then to the turret. Basically, what that's doing is if your base power goes out for whatever reason, the generator gets blown up or something like that, at least your turrets on the outside of the compound are going to remain active for a little while. It could help. It's a bit of a safety feature. So tip number 3, turret power. So tip number 4, only keep good items. Myself personally, after looking at all the different tiers of building tiles and things like that, the real benefit is when you get up into the higher 3 tiers of blueprints, so exotic, legendary, and epic. Other than that, everything else kind of seems to be junk, so for the most part, just drop all the garbage blueprints, or when you're looting the bag, there will be a drop all function. So when you take what you want from your loot bag or the loot chest, you can just hit drop all in the top right corner, and it'll clear that loot crash, and when you come back, it'll be new loot. Same thing with the blueprints. Yeah, there's not really much benefit to just going up at 1 or 2 tiers in the blueprints. Like I said, purple, orange, and red, that's the way to go. Tip number 5, big tile, small tile. So what's the better tile to use? We're up into the tungsten steel tier, which is the last tier on the PvP servers as of current. You can see here, 2x2 floor foundation has 27,000 health. A 1x1 has 9,000 health. Of course, if you get this blueprinted and it's like 340% durability, that's going to be like a 70,000 health foundation. So around the outer part of your base, probably not a bad idea to use the 2x2 tiles. It seems to have a lot of health, so kind of worth it. But of course, you're going to have your small tiles where your door frames are and what have you. So big tile, small tile, that's your call. Tip number 6 is the space beacon placement. So if you're going on to the PvP servers, you're going on to get into a little bit of PvP action, there are some unique benefits to the space beacon. That is the PvP protection timer. So one of the things that helped me before I built my base was I kind of just lived out of a whole bunch of boxes around the map and sleeping bags and went around and gained some experience. I built a base and the space beacon wasn't in protection yet. I suppose it has to be placed down for 24 hours before PvP protection takes effect. So if you find a space that you want to build, go place down a space beacon and then go back to it tomorrow. When you go back to it tomorrow, if it's got its PvP protection timer, then start building your base and putting your time into it. Building a base and putting your time into it before you have the protection up, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So, but that's one of the things that helped me, like I said, kind of free roam, get some early experience, get some levels, unlock some engrams, and then, yeah, just kind of pick a place and throw your beacon down and then go check it the next day. And if you have your timer, just start building. So, yeah, that's it for today. That's 6 tips that I hope helps you in your gameplay on the front. Stay tuned for more videos and content. We'll see what we can come up with. And, yeah, if you enjoyed the video or liking the content, please like and subscribe for the channel and stay up to date. Yeah. Anyways, toodaloo.